Well, good morning, church. Welcome to this edition of Checking In with Pastor Jim. It is Friday, July the 31st, 2020. It is the last day of the month. We're still here. I'm still here. I think you're still there. I can't see you out there this morning, but I'm trusting that you are. I see a few people checking in and just letting me know that they're here. I'm so glad that you're with me this morning. I feel your presence. I feel that connection. And even though I can't see you, you can see me. You can see the joy on my face when I check in and know that you're out there somewhere. I want to talk to you a little more about that this morning. Had a long talk yesterday with my brother-in-law, Chuck Treadwell. And some of you met Chuck on the Wednesday night Bible study a few weeks ago. Chuck is my brother-in-law from Austin, Texas. He's an Episcopal priest, and he is probably, I don't want to make anybody jealous, but probably my best male friend in this world. His sister, Christy, is my best female friend and also my wife. It's really convenient that way. But Chuck and I knew each other before I met Christy. We were friends in college, and we ended up doing some hiking and camping together, and we've been doing that ever since. But all those hours spent on the trail have been really conducive for conversation, for sharing our lives with each other, and really our most intimate thoughts and secrets. There's not much we don't know about each other, which means he's a good conversation partner. And he's a priest. He's really my priest, my pastor. He's the one I go to when I need pastoral care. So, Chuck, if you're listening, I don't know if you knew all of that, but that's true. So, yesterday, we had a Zoom call, and it was just the two of us, and he said to me, "How are you really?" And my first response was, "I'm exhausted." But the more we talked about, the more I realized it wasn't a physical exhaustion. I think that's what I had those first couple of weeks of this pandemic when I was trying to move the church online. It was exhausting physically, and I was awake at 3:30 every morning trying to problem solve, trying to figure out how to do all of this. But lately it hasn't been physically exhausting. I think it has been emotionally exhausting. And Chuck and I talked about that. He said, "You know what I miss is that time in the narthex." And narthex is what they call it in the Episcopal Church, that lobby, that gathering space where everybody gets together when they come in from outside and before they go into the sanctuary. He said, "I miss the narthex time." He said, "I could tell sometimes just by watching the way someone walked that they needed a little extra pastoral care. Sometimes I would see children laughing with their parents and their parents laughing with them, and I thought, they're okay this week. Last week, not so much, but this week they're okay." He said, "I could see the way people hugged each other and shook each other's hands and checked in with each other like that." He said, "I miss that time in the narthex." As we talked, I said, "Chuck, I heard somewhere once, and I don't know if it's true, but I keep repeating it, that most of our communication is done non-verbally, that the words themselves only make up about 7% of our communication, that everything else is body language and tone of voice and eye contact and gestures, and yes, maybe even sometimes just the way you walk communicates." So in a time like this, when we're having to depend on verbal communication, right? The words themselves are what we see. I get hundreds of emails, and I get emails from church members who are trying to reach out to me and tell me how things are for them during this time when we can't see each other. But I'm reading those words on the screen, and I don't know really what's going on inside that person. I have to trust what they say and glean as much information and communication as I can from the words on the page. But I'm guessing that 5 minutes in that person's presence would communicate volumes. And I'm not getting that. Chuck is not getting that. We realize that there's this huge deficiency in our lives right now that comes from being with people, being around people, seeing them, hearing their voices, watching the way they walk, and understanding how to provide care for people. I was thinking about Robert Thompson and the way he works the fellowship hall on Wednesday night. I think that is Robert Thompson's happy place. He loves to be in Flaming Hall on Wednesday night when we're having church supper. And I don't know that he eats. He just walks around from table to table and pats on people and hugs their grandchildren and listens to their stories. Robert is a natural for that kind of pastoral care and that kind of pastoral connection. And he misses it terribly. He does. I know that when I'm in fellowship hall on Wednesday night, I can do the same sort of thing. I'm not as good at it as Robert is, but I too can see how people are interacting with each other. I can get a sense of how they're doing just by looking and listening and patting somebody on the shoulder and saying hello. Well, I miss that. And I think it is leading to a kind of emotional exhaustion. That's the way I put it to Chuck. But finally, we agreed that this thing that we're feeling, right, it's grief. And I've said this to you before. I saw that article early on in this pandemic that said this thing that we're feeling, it's grief. It's just grief. We have lost so much in terms of that kind of regular interaction with one another, and we're feeling grief. Well, here's what I didn't know about grief. It leaves you exhausted. I haven't had that kind of experience with grief, but some of you out there have. Some of you who are watching and listening right now have had that kind of experience with grief. And you know that when you have lost someone that you loved very much, it leads to exhaustion. That is emotional exhaustion. It may not be because you're not getting any sleep, although you may not be getting any sleep. It's something else. It's exhaustion on that deep level of emotion. So I talked to Chuck about that, and he talked to me, and I said, having church online, a Zoom church or a webcast worship service, it's kind of like saying to a grieving widow, hey, I'm sorry your husband died, but here's a video that I took of him last year when he was alive and well. Maybe you could watch this. Maybe it would help you feel better. Well, it might help her feel better, but she would also know that's not my husband. That's an image of my husband. It's a video. It's not the same thing. And I believe many of us feel that way about worship. When we can't be in the sanctuary, when we can't see each other and hug each other. It's good to have something, right? It's better than nothing, but it is not the same. It's a little bit like handing somebody a video and saying, hey, enjoy watching your dead husband back when he was alive. Not the same, not nearly the same. Well, by the end of that call with Chuck, he said, I'm getting some comfort from something that someone said to me recently. He said, this pandemic is a kind of portal. You know that word, portal? Like a doorway to something else, right? And he said, we keep hoping, that the pandemic will be over and everything will go back to normal. He said, but it probably won't go back to normal, not back to the way it used to be. There will be some lasting change because of this. And if we could think of it this way, that we are going through a portal to a different kind of future, it may help us. It may help us understand that this is a passage, that it is difficult and exhausting, but that we will eventually get through this passage and we will be on the other side, just like a baby that is being born goes through the difficulty of labor and emerges on the other side. We will emerge on the other side of this pandemic, and some things will never be quite the same again. But it helps me to know we're moving through something. We're not stuck, and we're probably not going to turn around and go back. We are moving through something, and we will get to the other side. I believe that with all my heart. I'd love to get there with you. I'd love to see you on the other side of this. I would love for us to be able to embrace again and to communicate on that deep, deep level that is so satisfying, right? So let's look forward to that together. Before I go today, I just need to let you know that I'm going on vacation tomorrow. And I'm going to get some rest for my body and I think some rest for my soul. Christy, Ellie, Catherine, Leo, and I are going to a rental cottage on the eastern shore of Virginia. Very secluded, very safe. We'll come back from there. And then I'm going to preacher camp for a week. And you've been meeting some of my preacher camp colleagues, and you will in these next few Wednesday nights for Bible study. Some of them not going to be able to make it in person. They're going to Zoom with us and tune in virtually, but we will be planning our preaching for the next calendar year, assuming there will be another calendar year. So I'm going to take a break from checking in with you every weekday morning. I'm not going to be checking in tomorrow and not next week and probably not the week after that. I hope you're going to miss me, but I will be back. And I will look forward to that because I feel a kind of connection, even when I'm checking in with you through this technology. I feel it, and I hope you can feel that too. So here's the good news. Taking a little break from this sermon series on the Ten Commandments, all right? I've worked my way up through number 8, but I'm going to take some time off and come back with those last two. For the next couple of Sundays, not this one, but the two after that, Patrick Jackson and Lynn Turner are going to be preaching from the Psalms. So if you've had all the Old Testament law you can handle for a while, good news, everybody. You're going to hear from Patrick on August the 9th and from Lynn on August the 16th, and they're going to be preaching from the Psalms. I think it's going to make your heart happy. So look forward to that and look forward to seeing me again when I get back from vacation. In the meantime, know that I love you, and if I could be with you, I would be with you. This is as close as we can get right now, and it is better than nothing. I'm so glad to be with you this morning and hope that today will be a great day for you. See you, not soon, but sometime. See you. Let's look forward to that.